Last month, international leaders met in Glasgow for COP26. And COP26 is an international climate conference with the aim of securing commitments from countries to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. Now, that threshold of 1.5 degrees is really important. We need to stay below it if we're able to avoid the worst impacts of climate change. So the outcomes of this conference are really important for us as citizens as well as for Wienerberger. So how did the conference go? Well, there was mixed results. The climate change commitments from countries weren't sufficient to keep us on the trajectory of 1.5 degrees or less of global warming. There was, however, some progress made, with countries committing to phase down the use of coal to generate power, and also the removal of inefficient fossil fuel subsidies. Some nations argued they wanted to go further with a complete phase out of coal and fossil fuel subsidies, which would have really helped. But the outcomes of the conference just emphasised the importance of actions that companies like Wienerberger take to reduce our carbon emissions and the commitment we make to the fight against climate change. And before the conference took place, the UK government released 2 policy papers that are highly relevant for Wienerberger, and I encourage you to take a look at them if you have the time. So the first policy paper was the heat and building strategy. And that covers everything from energy efficiency to fuel supplies to the finance and skills required to support the decarbonisation in the built environment. Within that policy paper, there's an emphasis on a fabric-first approach to building, which is really positive for Wienerberger as our products generally have a high thermal mass. The second policy released was the UK's net zero strategy. Now that is an overview of all of the sector-specific decarbonisation strategies. It covers topics such as power, hydrogen, industry, transport, heat and buildings, and natural resources. And it sets out what the government will do to help the country transition to a net zero economy by 2050. The policy aims within the net zero strategy broadly support the decarbonisation roadmap that we've developed for Wienerberger. Things like decarbonising the electricity supply by 2035 and exploring the blending of hydrogen through our natural gas supplies, which a decision will be made on in 2023. Both of those actions could help reduce Wienerberger's carbon emissions, and our other plans within the decarbonisation strategy go even further. We hope that this will enable us to become a net zero carbon emission company before 2050. And just last week at Capital Markets Day, our corporate parent Wienerberger AG announced interim targets for 2030. So we've already got a target of minus 15% by 2023 with the baseline of 2020, but Wienerberger AG have announced that they now want us to achieve a reduction of 40% carbon emissions by 2030, which is really positive. It will help the company transition faster so that we don't get left behind as the rest of society transitions to a net zero carbon economy, and it also helps us reduce our contribution to climate change, where early action is really important.